Sophia took a slow sip, her pulse quickening. She knew what he meant. She had been waiting too. The music from his speakers shifted into something soft, a slow, crooning ballad. Without asking, he reached for her hand. "Dance with me," he said. "In the middle of an empty room?" she teased, though she didn't resist when he pulled her close. "In the middle of the world," he corrected. They swayed in silence, her head against his chest, his chin resting lightly on her hair. For once, there was no family, no Marcus, no danger. Just them. And yet the more they clung to each other, the sharper the thought became. This can't last forever. The next afternoon, Sophia sat in her dorm, sketching absent-mindedly when a message buzzed her phone. From Marcus. "I warned you. Do you really think he's who you believe he is? Check tomorrow's paper." Her stomach dropped. She almost deleted it, but her curiosity, her fear, made her tremble. That night she couldn't sleep. She replayed Marcus's words, June's evasive answers, the heaviness in his eyes whenever she asked too many questions. "What are you hiding from me, June?" The following evening, June brought her to a high-profile art gala, insisting it would be safe. "You're with me. No one will touch you," he said, fastening the delicate bracelet he had chosen for her wrist. The gala hall glittered with chandeliers, champagne, and Seoul's most powerful figures. But the stares were sharper than knives. Sophia could feel them whisper about the beautiful foreign girl on June's arm. At one point, his uncle Jiho cornered them near the wine bar. "So it's true," Jiho said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Our family's wild card has found himself a distraction." Sophia stiffened, but June's hand tightened reassuringly around hers. "She's not a distraction," June said coldly. Jiho leaned closer, his breath laced with expensive liquor. "Careful, nephew. Your father will crush anything that threatens the dynasty. And you know what happens to fragile things caught in his way." His gaze flicked to Sophia deliberately before he walked away. Her blood chilled. She clutched June's arm. Why would he say that? But June only pressed his lips into a hard line, refusing to answer. Later, when he drove her back, Sophia finally broke. "June, I can't keep pretending nothing's wrong. Your uncle, your father, your friend Marcus, everyone is hinting at something I don't know. And you're shutting me out." He pulled over suddenly, the car idling on a quiet street. His hands gripped the wheel. "I want to tell you," he said hoarsely. "But once I do, you'll see me differently. You'll see the truth. And I'm afraid of losing you." Her heart ached. She reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. "You won't lose me. Not unless you keep lying to me." Their eyes met, and for the first time, he looked truly vulnerable, the mask of the confident mogul stripped away. He leaned in and kissed her fierce, desperate, as though she was the only safe place left in the world. And in that kiss, Sophia knew something for certain. Whatever storm was coming, it was already too late to turn back. From across the street, Marcus sat in his car, camera in hand. The lens captured everything. Their embrace, their kiss, their unspoken vow. He smirked, lowering the camera. "Let's see how long love survives when the truth finally comes out." Sophia tried to bury Marcus's warning, but it clung to her like smoke. She replayed his words at the cafe, Jiho's smirk at the gala, the heaviness in June's eyes when he said there are things you don't know yet. She wanted to believe him. She did believe him, but Marcus was everywhere. One morning, as she left her dorm, she found an envelope tucked into her bag. No name, no address, only a glossy photograph inside. Her heart stuttered. It was her and June, kissing on the rooftop, his hand cradling her face, her body pressed into his. Across the bottom, scrawled in sharp ink, "How much longer before the world sees?" Her hands trembled. Who else had these pictures? Sophia tried to bury Marcus's warning, but it clung to her like smoke. She replayed his words at the cafe, Jiho's smirk at the gala, the heaviness in June's eyes when he said there are things you don't know yet. That evening, Marcus met with Jiho in a dimly lit lounge, a place where deals were struck over whiskey and quiet laughter. "Your nephew has a weakness," Marcus said. sliding the photograph across the table. And she's it. Jiho studied the image, his lips curling in disdain. My brother would destroy him if this reached the press. Marcus leaned back, satisfied. Then let me do the work for you. All I need is your blessing. Jiho sipped his drink, eyes narrowing. Do it, but make sure he doesn't see it coming. Marcus's smile was thin, predatory. He won't. She will. 2 days later, Sophia sat in the university library when Marcus appeared again, sliding into the seat beside her as if he belonged there. You should be careful, he murmured. I told you to stay away from me, she snapped, clutching her books. He ignored her anger, sliding a thin folder across the table. Open it. Against her better judgment, she did. Inside were clippings, news articles, financial reports, headlines about the Kim family's empire, oil moguls' hidden scandals, land seizures in Africa, corruptions, allegations buried by power, and one photograph that made her blood run cold. June, much younger, shaking hands with men she recognized from African newspapers, men accused of exploiting her homeland's resources. That's not him, she whispered, though her voice trembled. Marcus tilted his head, studying her. You think you know him, but you don't. He's not just a man in love with you, Sophia. He's his father's son. And sons never escape their fathers. Her chest tightened painfully. You're lying. Maybe, Marcus said smoothly, rising to his feet. But lies are just truths in waiting. He left her staring at the papers, her world spinning. That night, Sophia met June in their rooftop hideout. He was waiting, his face lighting up when she entered. But she couldn't meet his gaze. What's wrong? He asked immediately, crossing the room. She shoved the folder into his chest, her voice breaking. Tell me this isn't true. He opened it, his eyes hardening as he scanned the contents. Where did you get this? That doesn't matter, she cried. Tell me it's a lie. Silence. The silence was worse than anything. June's jaw tightened, his chest rising and falling as though he was swallowing back words. Finally, he said quietly, Not everything you see is what it seems. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you right now. Her heart splintered. She pulled away from him, shaking her head. You're asking me to trust you, but all I see are secrets. How am I supposed to love someone who won't let me in? Because if I let you in, he said, his voice raw, I might lose you. The words cut her deeply, and though part of her wanted to stay, to cling to him, she turned and left, the sound of the door closing echoing like a gunshot. For 3 days, Sophia avoided June. She ignored his calls, left his messages unread, and buried herself in lectures and studio work. Yet everywhere she turned, she saw him, in the cologne clinging faintly to her scarf, in the wine-stained napkin with that quote he'd once given her, in the memory of his mouth on hers under the willow tree. And still Marcus's words echoed louder. Sons never escape their fathers. At night, she sat by her window, staring at Seoul's glowing skyline. What if I've been loving a stranger? He paced his office, phone in hand, checking the unread message thread with Sophia. His work piled up, contracts left unsigned, meetings cut short. His assistant whispered that he seemed distracted. Distracted. That word his father had spit at him over the dinner table. At midnight, June drove past Amara's dorm and parked across the street. He saw her light still on, her shadow moving behind the curtains. He wanted to climb the stairs, to demand she listen, to hold her until her doubts dissolved. But instead, he sat in the dark, gripping the wheel, whispering to himself, Not yet. If I tell her everything now, I'll lose her forever. On the 4th day, Sophia received a video call from her mother back in New York City, United States. My daughter, her mother said warmly. You sound tired. Is the city of Seoul being kind to you? Sophia forced a smile. I'm fine, Mom. Just busy. With studies. Her mother studied her face. Your spirit looks restless. Have you met someone? Sophia hesitated. Her throat tightened. Yes, but it's complicated. Her mother chuckled softly. Love is always complicated, Sophia. The question is, does it make you feel alive? Or does it make you afraid? Sophia swallowed hard, blinking back sudden tears. Both, she wanted to say. It makes me alive and afraid all at once. That evening, June couldn't wait any longer. He found her sitting alone by the Han River, sketchbook balanced on her lap. She stiffened when he approached, but didn't move. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice low. "Because 3 days without you feels like 3 years," he admitted. His voice was hoarse, raw. "Because you've locked me out, and I can't breathe not knowing what you're thinking." Sophia's hand clenched on her pencil. "I'm thinking maybe Marcus was right. Maybe I don't know who you are at all." His chest tightened. "Don't let him poison what we have." "Then tell me the truth," she burst out, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Tell me what you're hiding. Tell me why your uncle warned me. Tell me why your father would never accept me. Just tell me." He stared at her, every instinct screaming to speak, but the weight of his family's secrets chained his tongue. Instead, he stepped closer, cupping her face, his voice breaking. "All you need to know is this. I love you. More than the company, more than my family's empire, more than anything in this city. Isn't that enough?" Her tears spilled. "No, June. Love isn't enough if it's built on secrets." She pulled back, leaving his hands empty, and walked away. Hidden under the bridge's shadows, Marcus watched the scene unfold with quiet satisfaction. He lifted his phone, recording Sophia's tearful departure. Then he dialed Jiho. "They're breaking," he said simply. Jiho's laughter crackled through the receiver. "Good. Let him suffer. When the truth comes out, it won't just ruin him. It'll ruin her too." Marcus pocketed his phone, his smirk darkening. The trap was nearly complete. She had sworn she wouldn't answer his texts, wouldn't let his shadow linger in her thoughts, wouldn't dream about the press of his lips on hers. But promises were flimsy things when your heart was on fire. On Friday evening, her body betrayed her. She walked the neon-lit streets of Hongdae, head down, sketchbook clutched like a shield. The bass of club music thumped through the alleys, mingling with the aroma of grilled meat from late-night stalls. Every step she took toward the rooftop studio felt like a confession. "Turn back," she told herself. "End this before it ends you." But her feet refused. When she reached the top of the narrow stairwell and pushed open the door, the city greeted her sprawling beneath glass windows like a sea of molten light. And there he was. June stood by the pane, framed by Seoul's glittering skyline. The shadows sharpened his cheekbones, his dark suit undone at the collar. When he turned and saw her, his lips parted in something between relief and longing. "You came," he said, voice hushed. Her pulse thudded. "I shouldn't have. But you did," he replied, stepping forward, every line of his body radiating restrained hunger. The air between them thickened. Sophia's throat went dry. She wanted to flee, but when his hand brushed hers, the electricity was undeniable. She trembled, caught between fear and desire. "June," she whispered, torn. "Don't say anything." His voice was velvet and steel. He pulled her against him, and for a reckless heartbeat, Sophia let herself collapse into the warmth of his chest, his heartbeat pounding against her ear like war drums. Minutes passed before they sat together on the leather couch. Outside, the rain had begun again, soft drops tracing rivulets down the window glass. Sophia turned toward him, eyes searching. "Why do I feel like I'm fighting for you?" she murmured. "While you're fighting against me?" His jaw tightened, pain flashing in his gaze. "You think I'm not fighting?" "Sophia, every step I take toward you is a war against my world. Against my father. Against everything I was raised to protect." Her chest ached. "Then let me share that war." He hesitated, torn. His hand lifted, hovering at her cheek, then retreating as if burned. "If I let you in, they won't just destroy me. They'll destroy you." Her lips trembled. "Maybe I'd rather burn with you than watch you drown alone." His control shattered. He caught her face in his hands, crashing his mouth onto hers. The kiss wasn't soft, wasn't sweet. It was desperate, hungry, fierce. A man clinging to the one thing he couldn't bear to lose. Sophia gasped against him, but her resistance crumbled. She kissed him back, her hands curling into his shirt, pulling him closer. His lips claimed hers again and again, searing her doubts with fire. When they broke apart, gasping, Sophia whispered against his lips, "Then let them try." For the first time in days, he smiled, not the polished smile of a mogul, but the raw, unguarded smile of a man in love. Perched on a rooftop bar with his whiskey glass glinting under neon, he aimed his camera lens at the couple through the glass. He zoomed in, capturing each stolen kiss, each lingering touch, each whisper against the skin. He smirked. Perfect. Love always looks most beautiful when it's about to be ruined. With a flick of his finger, he sent one of the photos to Jiho. The caption beneath it was short, cruel. Later that night, June insisted on walking Sophia back to her dorm. The streets were quieter now, the city buzz dimming to the hum of streetlights and the occasional passing cab. The pavement was slick from the rain. Sophia's arm brushed his, and though they said little, the silence felt charged, not awkward, but heavy with everything they couldn't name aloud. At one intersection, June stopped abruptly. His grip on her hand tightened. "What is it?" Sophia asked, heart lurching. He scanned the shadows in a narrow alley to their left, the faint red glow of a cigarette ember vanishing into the dark. His jaw clenched. "Nothing," he said at last, though his voice was low, guarded. He didn't release her hand until they reached her building. There, under the yellow glow of the dorm light, she turned to him. "You're hiding something again," she whispered. He leaned in, brushing his lips against her forehead, lingering there for a breath. "Not hiding," he murmured. "Protecting." And then he walked away, swallowed by the night. Sophia stood frozen, watching him vanish into the darkness, her heart pounding with both love and fear. Inside his sleek car parked just blocks away, Marcus replayed the photos on his phone. Each one captured their intimacy, Sophia's flushed cheeks, June's hands pulling her close. Proof of passion, proof of betrayal. He chuckled to himself, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "They'll never survive this," he whispered. He dialed Jiho once more. "By the time I'm done," Marcus said, his voice smooth and venomous, "your boyfriend won't just lose you. He'll lose everything. His name, his empire, his crown." Jiho's laughter crackled through the line. "Then do it. End him." Marcus smiled thinly, raising his glass in a mock toast to the city skyline. "With pleasure." Sophia woke restless, her lips still tingling from June's kiss the night before. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, heart pounding as memory replayed his hands trembling on her skin, the desperation in his voice, the danger lurking in his silence. Her roommate stirred, pulling the blanket over her head. Sophia rolled to the window, gazing out at the pale-soul dawn. "What am I doing?" she thought. "I'm falling deeper into a world I don't understand. And if Marcus is right, I might be falling straight into ruin." She pressed her palm against the glass as though the city might answer her. All it gave her was silence. Across town, June sat in his office, staring at the family crest engraved on the documents before him. His father's empire sprawled in those papers, oil rigs, shipping lanes, investments spread across continents. And buried beneath it all, the rot of corruption he'd been raised to ignore. His father's voice still echoed from last night's call. "You are not a boy anymore. You are an heir. Stop wasting yourself on meaningless distractions." Meaningless distractions. That's what Sophia was to them. To his father. To Jiho. To Marcus. But to him, she was the only thing that felt real. He clenched his pen until his knuckles turned white. "I can't keep her safe if I can't even free myself." Meanwhile, Marcus sat in his penthouse, screens glowing before him. On one, the photos of June and Sophia filled the display. On another, a draft email to a gossip outlet sat open. He hovered over the send button, savoring the power. "Not yet," he murmured, swirling his drink. "Let them believe in the illusion a little longer. Suspense always makes the fall sweeter." He tapped his phone and sent a different message, not to the press, but to Sophia herself. "Unknown number. Do you know who he really is? Unknown number. Ask him about the blood on his family's fortune. Then he leaned back, waiting. Sophia froze when her phone buzzed. She read the messages twice, her stomach twisting. Blood on his family's fortune. Her fingers hovered over June's contact. She wanted to call him, to demand the truth. But she also wanted to throw the phone across the room, to pretend the message had never arrived. Her chest ached. Why now? Why did my heart finally choose him? Instead of calling, she tucked the phone into her bag and left the dorm, needing air. But the words followed her with every step, echoing louder than the city's noise. That evening, she met June again, this time in a quiet tea house. The air smelled of jasmine, candles flickering between them. Sophia studied him, memorizing every flicker of emotion on his face. She wanted to believe him, but the question burned too hot. June, she began softly, if I asked you about your family, about how they built their wealth, would you tell me the truth? He froze, teacup halfway to his lips. For a split second, the mask slipped. Shadows darkened his eyes. Why would you ask that? His voice was steady, too steady. Her heart sank. Because I already know something's wrong. But before she could push further, his hand covered hers, warm, steady, pleading. Sophia, I swear, I will tell you everything, he whispered. But not tonight. Not yet. Her pulse quickened. Not yet. Always not yet. She pulled her hand back slowly, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then I'll wait. But inside, she wasn't sure how much longer she could. From outside the tea house, Marcus watched through the rain-speckled window, his lips curling into a predator's grin. He snapped another photo of June holding her hand, Sophia's guarded expression. He tucked the phone away. The cracks are showing, he murmured. One more push and everything shatters. For once, Sophia felt at peace. She and June had spent the evening walking the lanternlit streets of Insadong, sharing roasted chestnuts, their laughter mingling with the music of buskers. For a fleeting moment, it felt normal, like they were simply two young people in love, not a forbidden heiress and a reluctant heir. When he leaned close to whisper, "You're the only real thing in my life," her heart fluttered so wildly she almost forgot her doubts. The next morning, Sophia awoke to a storm. Her phone buzzed non-stop messages from classmates, notifications flooding her feed. She groaned, pulling it from the nightstand, and froze when she saw the headlines. Oil heirs' secret romance with African student exposed. Photos leak of Kim Jun-ho and mystery lover dynasty at risk. Sophia's breath caught. She clicked the link, and there they were. Pictures of her and June at the rooftop studio, kissing like the world didn't exist. Another of him holding her hand outside the tea house. Her face was clear. His face was undeniable. Her phone slipped from her hand. "Oh God," she whispered, her body trembling. At the same moment, June sat in his father's office, the headlines flashing on the massive screen. His father's face was carved from stone, his voice like thunder. "You fool." June's throat was dry. "Father, do you have any idea what you've done?" Mr. Kim slammed his fist on the desk. "One girl, one foreign girl, and you risk the empire? Do you want to drag our family name through the mud?" "It's not like that," June rasped. "I love her." His father's laugh was bitter. "Love? You think love builds dynasties? Love builds nothing. It destroys." June's chest heaved. "Then let it destroy me. I won't let her go." His father's eyes narrowed, cold as ice. "If you don't, I will." Back on campus, Sophia couldn't escape. Students whispered as she passed. Some gawked openly. A few sneered. "She's the girl in the photos. Of course he'd choose her exotic. Does she even know what she's gotten into?" Sophia's hands shook as she shoved her sketchbook into her bag. She wanted to vanish, to dissolve into nothing. Her phone rang again. June. She almost answered. Almost. But then another message buzzed in. "Unknown number. Do you see now? He's not yours. He was never yours. Walk away before you burn." Her heart clenched. She knew it was Marcus. She knew, but the words still burrowed deep, poisonous. That night, she met June in the shadows of the Han River, where they'd once walked hand in hand. Now silence stretched between them, heavy, suffocating. "You saw the news," he said quietly. She nodded, her throat tight. "The whole world saw." "I swear, I didn't." "I know you didn't." She cut him off, her voice breaking. "But someone did. And now everyone knows. My classmates, your family." She pressed her palms to her eyes. "June, I don't know if I can survive this." He grabbed her wrists gently, pulling her hands down, forcing her to look at him. His eyes were fierce, burning. "We'll survive it together." But before she could answer, voices echoed, nearby reporters, calling June's name, camera flashes slicing the dark. "Kim Jun-ho. Who is she? Is this the woman risking the Kim fortune? Are you defying your father's orders?" June shielded Sophia with his body, his jaw set. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The riverbank erupted in chaos. From across the water, Marcus leaned on the railing, cigarette glowing between his fingers. He watched the flashes, the shouts, the panic, and smiled. Checkmate. The scandal spread like wildfire. News anchors debated June's future. Tabloids devoured Sophia's face, and whispers turned to outright cruelty on campus. Sophia nearly broke under the weight of it. She thought about leaving, buying the first ticket back to the United States, vanishing before the city consumed her whole. But every time she packed her bag, her heart screamed his name. Meanwhile, June fought his family in brutal silence. His father cut him from meetings. His family members smirked from across the boardroom table, and Marcus circled like a vulture. "You're finished," one of his family members told him one night. "You chose her over us. Don't expect anyone to catch you when you fall." But June's answer was steady, unwavering. "I don't need your net. I'd rather fall with her than stand without her." One evening, Sophia received a USB drive slipped under her door. Inside were files of Marcus's, not June's. Emails, payments, surveillance footage. Proof that Marcus had orchestrated the entire scandal, feeding photos to the press, manipulating narratives. Her first instinct was fear. Her second was fury. With shaking hands, she brought it to June. "This is him," she whispered, breathless. "Marcus did it. He tried to break us." June stared at the screen, jaw clenched. "Then we won't break." Together, they exposed Marcus. Sophia gathered her evidence, her voice steady as she faced a room full of journalists, telling the truth not just about Marcus, but about herself. "I am not a scandal," she said, her voice ringing. "I am a woman who fell in love, and love should not be a crime." The world listened. When June stepped up beside her, taking her hand before the cameras, the moment became electric. He declared, "If my family's empire crumbles because of this love, then let it crumble. I would rather build something true than inherit something poisoned." The press exploded with questions, flashes, chaos, but the story had shifted. No longer about shame, but defiance. Marcus didn't survive the storm. His emails leaked further, showing not only his sabotage but financial corruption. The board turned against him. June's uncle Ji-ho, desperate to protect himself, abandoned Marcus publicly. One by one, Marcus's allies disappeared. In the end, he stood alone, a smirk wiped clean, his empire of lies crumbling. He had set the trap for June, but it was he who fell into ruin. Months later, under a sky of scattered stars, Sophia and June walked the quiet banks of the Han River once more. The city was still buzzing with their names, but for once, the noise didn't matter. "You could still walk away," June said softly, brushing her hand. "There will always be whispers. There will always be eyes on us." Sophia turned to him, eyes shining. "Let them look. I'm not afraid anymore." He searched her face, and when her lips curved into that stubborn smile, he pulled her close, kissing her like the world had finally stopped spinning. The kiss wasn't desperate now. It was steady. Sure. Promise. They had been burned by scandal, betrayed by family, hunted by shadows, and still, they stood tall. Against the odds, they had found each other, and they weren't letting go. The years had softened the edges of their story, though it was never truly forgotten. In Seoul, people still remembered the scandal that once set the city ablaze. Some whispered, some admired, but most had moved on. And in the quiet corners where their names were still spoken, it was no longer with malice, but with awe. Sophia stood in a sunlit gallery, her paintings lining the white walls. Rich blues and golds, sweeping landscapes, portraits that carried whispers of two worlds woven together. At the center hung her favorite piece. A scene of the Han River at dusk, two figures silhouetted against the fading light, holding hands. A small crowd lingered, murmuring admiration. A critic praised her bold use of color. Another spoke of her courageous heart that spilled into every canvas. Sophia smiled softly, but her eyes searched for only one person. And then she saw him. June moved through the crowd with the same quiet confidence that once made her nervous, though now it only filled her with peace. He carried no empire on his shoulders anymore. He had stepped away from his father's dynasty, choosing instead to build something of his own. A company smaller, freer, cleaner. A life freer. When his gaze found hers, his smile was still the same as the smile that made her feel like she was the only person in the world. He slipped an arm around her waist, pressing a kiss to her temple. "They love it," he murmured. She leaned into him. "Do you?" His lips brushed her ear, his voice low. "Always. Every color reminds me of you." A child's laugh rang out, and Sophia turned as their little girl darted toward them, curls bouncing. Paint smudged on her tiny hands from the kids' workshop in the next room. June scooped her up effortlessly, their daughter giggling as she wrapped her arms around his neck. In that moment, surrounded by light, love, and the family they'd built against every odd, Sophia felt it deep in her soul. They had won. Not because the world approved, not because the whispers stopped, but because they chose each other again and again, no matter the storm. And that, she realized, was the truest victory of all.